think it's a big amount of the division. I think that is important to keep in mind. Then moving swiftly on, we've got Blur leading us on, leading us on. I mean, I'm not Blur farming so much. I have done a little bit, but I'm not like Machi Big Brother here who's spending millions and every day, all day. I don't have millions and I don't have every day, all day. However, I would be quite upset if I was expecting to only get double my points for 4 weeks, and then I work for 4 weeks to get as many points as I can. And at 3.5 weeks, they come and say, hold on, we're extending it another month. Because now, first of all, I have to do that for another month. But second of all, and the bigger problem over here is that it means that more people have more chance to get points. There's going to be more points in circulation because there's now another month to earn points, which means the points that have been earned to date are going to be worth less than they would have been if this had ended when it was supposed to end. Now, I mean, you guys know me. I don't mind things being changed if things weren't promised up front. But the same as my FUD with Moonbirds was because certain things were promised and changed after the fact, substantial things. I think that's the same here. I mean, I'm not as angry. I'm just saying, I don't think it's fair to the people who have been actively farming to now all of a sudden extend it for another month and release more of these double point tokens into the ecosystem.
Do you have the second announcement that maybe would explain this from the DeGods?
Do I have the second announcement from DeGods?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, well,
this
if you
is
want
Blur,
to,
right?
Yes, DeGods and Blur. So it just saw this like this morning, like a couple hours ago. But DeGods just put an announcement. DeGods has some kind of collaboration with Blur, and that's all they said. But they made an official tweet on DeGods' official Twitter and said DeGods times Blur. And I said, oh shit, that's what's going on here. So I think that's probably why they extended it, because they're like, fuck it, let's extend this a little bit. You know, like DeGods and Utes have a lot of fucking energy right now. It was, and I'm not 100%. It's either DeGods or it's Frank, one of the two guys, whoever's like, but it was their official account. But if you go down,
I see that chat, but I must be on. So it says DeGod is migrating to Ethereum tomorrow. Set a reminder. That's from Blur, and they had a Spaces discussing their partnership. No, here it is. But I don't agree with you that that's the reason for Blur. I think you're giving too much weight to. I do think that we actually saw this with their first airdrop as well. They were supposed to launch and then they delayed it and delayed it and delayed it. From their side, it just makes sense. They want to keep it as much trading as possible for as long as possible, right? That's what they're trying to do here. Blur. So for them, it sort of makes sense to say, okay, you know what? Let's just say, Kate, when the second airdrop happens, what are they going to do to incentivize the trading on Blur? They're going to have a third airdrop? Or do they just continue this? So to stretch it out as long as possible to keep that trading going on sort of makes sense. It's just they could have said from the beginning, look, we're not giving an end date to this. But instead they said double points until the end of March. And now they've come out and said, no, we're now increasing that until the end of May.
I think what they're trying to do is get some muscle memory for these traders, because these traders, I think what they're trying to do, also, if you want to, yeah, there we go. I was going to say, we don't have to be so tiny, but with Blur, I think because Zeneca is like in charge of a lot of the stuff with Blur, I think that what they're really trying to do, because he's a pretty big brand builder, I feel like he knows what he's doing, and I want to believe it's not just for like silly purposes and dumb decision making. I think it's because all they want to do is get people using Blur a lot for a few months straight to where they're like, man, this is just better than OpenSea. I'm just going to keep going here. Like, and it becomes less about the rewards at a certain point. And I think by the time May rolls around, they're just gonna be like, oh, great, like I got a few extra points here, but I fuck with Blur a lot, actually. And then maybe the rewards don't need to be as important. But I think they're just working on the muscle memory of working on Blur and,
I agree.
And trading on Blur.
I think that's definitely true. I don't think it's just one thing. I think there's a lot of benefits to them trying to extend this. It's like me saying, Kate, I'm going to pay you $2,000 at the end of March if you do X for me. And then I say, thank you. You know, Kate, well, end of March is already now. I'm talking about end of March 2020, 2409, whatever. Kate. And then I say, hold on, Kate, did I say March? I actually meant April. So I'm now I'm now getting an extra month out of
Oh,
you, but I'm not. It's not right because you and I both know. I said March, and you said March, but I do think they achieve quite a lot. As you said, they get people trading more or whatever. The truth is that not many people are farming like a Machi Big Brother, right? And they're probably only offending like a 20, 30, 40 people, whereas it could incentivize, 10,000, 15, 20,000 people to trade
right.
on Blur. So look, it's all
But
business decisions, but yeah.
they could stop. Like, just because it's extended to May for 2 extra points, everyone who got to now, basically, which when the cutoff was supposed to be, they're still going to get the 2x points. The only difference is just going to be a little bit later, but they could stop. They don't have to keep farming, right?
No, they don't. No, they don't have to. But there's going to be more points in circulation. So let's just say up until today, which is the end of March, let's just say that there's a
Mm.
million points that have now been allocated to everyone that's traded. And let's say all those traders now stop. So there's a million points. Now, Blur knows that on the second airdrop, let's just say hypothetically, they're going to give out $10 million, right? That means that every point equals $10, right?
Mm.
Because there's a million points and they've got $10 million to give out. By extending it another month, by the end of next month, there might be 2 million points earned, but there's still $10 million, which means
Mm.
everybody is going to get half. So if I
Got it.
stop now, because it's only a set amount that they're giving out, we know that there's a limited amount. And now those points are going to continue accumulating for another month. So if I stop now, I'm going to get half of what I was going to get, assuming that double the amount of points are in circulation by the end of the month. Now, it might not be exactly double, it might be more than double, but their supply of points is being diluted. And they're going to get a lesser piece of the pie, especially if they don't continue farming now for another month. Does
What
that
are
make
people
sense?
saying on Twitter? Yeah, it does make sense. And you're way more versed in the trading sphere than I am, so I don't even qualify to have an opinion on this, to be honest. But what do you know what people are thinking on Twitter?
Machi's,
Like, would love
yeah,
to
I
know the
saw
trends out of
Machi's
curiosity.
response. I saw Machi's response. I don't remember it exactly, but he was sort of like, shoot me now. Like, I don't think I can carry on like doing this level. It was something to that effect. He was like, sort of kill me now. I mean, I can't do this for another month. I mean, remember, farming is risky. There's a chance, like you
Yeah,
saw, there was
true,
a day where
true.
someone accepted wheat offers on 70 board apes. Now Machi's
Yeah,
sitting with 70 board apes. The floor price goes down, he's still sitting with them, right? If a floor price goes up, he benefits, but it's risky.
yeah,
And you're doing that because you know that there's a set amount of time, a set amount of money, a set amount of points, and now that's been extended. So for me, it's not ideal.
yeah.
Another thing that's important is this is just for double the points. After
Right.
after May, there's still going to be, it's not finished. They're still going to give points. It's just not going to be double the points, right?
Yeah. And I think at that point, people will just like Blur more, and so it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be as big of a deal. Once I think people are looking forward to it
Yeah,
in a negative
no,
way when
that's the
the rewards
problem.
stop coming. But I think in the same way that Bored Apes gave a lot of value or utility back through these NFTs in the very beginning, people who took the biggest W got it after those first few drops, right? The mutant apes and the kennels, and like those first few drops were like super monetarily incentivized and advantageous for holders. And then as the months and years dragged on, the Bored Apes you know utility has sort of just become less and less crazy. Like there's not been another mutant ape drop kind of thing, or like that's but they still love Bored Apes because of the benefits that they got in the beginning. They said, well, Bored Apes gave me all this stuff because I held. And I think it's a similar style with Blur. And I think the reason I say that is because Zeneca was an OG ape from the Bored Apes. And a lot of the people on the Blur team have, experience in the Bored Ape ecosystem, the Yuga ecosystem. I think they're just taking a lot of those lessons and those things that worked for the Bored Apes and saying, yo, this might work for a marketplace because no one has done it. Like OpenSea hasn't done a coin. If we do something like this, and then we are now the market leaders, OpenSea copies us. Now we're the big dogs, and they're our derivative.
Listen, they've proven that incentivizing people financially works. They've gone from not existing, where OpenSea held
Mm,
95% of the trading volume, to being arguably one of the bigger exchanges, or at least
yeah.
equivalent to OpenSea. As a result of this, the problem with incentivizing people financially, which Yuga's going to find as well as Blur, is that there always becomes needed to incentivize the same people. So let's say you gave the person $1 to do X. Next time around, you have to give him $2 to do X. Next time around, $4, that same person, until it becomes unsustainable. And that's the problem with financial reward, is the only motivator, right? So there has to be more there. And I think they're trying to figure that out along the way. Different utility, not just financial. So it might initially captivate an audience very much, and it does, but does it sustain an audience long term if you're not continually increasing the rewards? Now, Bored Ape Yacht Club has continually increased the rewards up to date, but at some point it's just not sustainable anymore. How are they going to top giving everyone $100,000 like they gave them in ApeCoin? How are they going to top that?
By collaborating with Gucci,
by giving them
doing some cooler, different style
so
things.
that's what
right?
you're
That's
seeing.
Blur,
exactly.
Yeah.
They're trying to now pivot from it just being financial to something else, because financial alone is not sustainable long term without increasing the incentive financially.
Agreed. And Blur, I think, is buying some time. They're like, okay, how can we build our brands now that people fuck with us because we gave them a lot of money and they like our marketplace? I mean, if I was a trader, I'd be on Blur. I would not be on OpenSea. Why would I be on OpenSea when I could be on Blur, like getting some benefits, And I think as a trader, I would be on Blur. And honestly, like if OpenSea doesn't do a lot of cool stuff, I'll probably just move on to Blur because everyone I know is on Blur. And that's when, if Blur starts getting some cool activations, maybe they even drop an NFT that like gives you a little bit of more of like a brand or like more of a communal style thing. Because I would argue right now, Blur has a stronger brand and / community than OpenSea does. I don't think OpenSea has a community at all. OpenSea feels like they're up here and their community's down here. Whereas Blur, it's like, yo, we're trying to help y'all. It's like a communal feel. And I think that's a huge play. And I think Blur's gonna do some cool stuff.
I think the clever, there's been a lot of clever things that Blur has done. I think that it's a really good use case, and will be studied, as far as Web3 goes, and also how to disrupt the big boys when you come into any space that's new or anything to that effect. But I think they realize something fundamental, which is people do not like change. And they realize that people were used to OpenSea. And how do you get someone to come from somewhere they're comfortable and understand, especially in a risky space like Web3 and NFT? How do we get people to come from that to something new? Because people don't like change. And so they've done that very well. We're going to reward, we're going to have better benefits on our platform. They claim it to be so much faster and so on and so forth. It's not the fastest platform I've ever seen. But in the end of the day, it's like you said, it's getting people onto their platform to try it out so that it's not so new and scary anymore. It's not so daunting. It's like, okay, I sort of get it. So yeah, very interesting to see. The biggest question is going to be, fast forward a year from today, where is Blur going to be? There's no more airdrops coming from Blur. Their token is worth a lot less than it is at the moment. Where are people going to enjoy trading more? And that remains to be seen.
100%, dude. And I saw Crypto Dreams up here on the stage, so he'll be coming on at some point.
That's really cool. So my last story is actually one that Crypto Dream sent to me. So I'm gonna do it, and then I'd love to discuss it with Crypto Dream and also discuss whatever he wants to